My name's Corey. I'm 20 years old. I'm originally from Newcastle. I moved to London to study law with Southbank University. I'm transgender. I come from a family of four. I have four siblings. I don't really have many hobbies or anything. I like Netflix. I like sleep. I don't really think they count, but never mind. Just while I'm talking, I saw a few people's faces do exactly what I wanted them to. I just want you to sort of repeat back to yourself what I've just said and think about which one of my facts really stood out first. Was it my degree or where I came from, or was it my gender identity? A lot of people today have spoken about sort of their family and their friends and their support networks, which are amazing, and I'm so thankful that each and every one of you had those. But family's always been a really weird concept to me because I've never really had one. My parents split up when I was about 6 years old, so I didn't really remember much of my dad or sort of his side of the family, but everything was all right because I still had my mum and my sister, yeah? It was all right. I was going to be fine because I sort of had my mum to shape and sort of guide where I went. I didn't really know what was going on, but she was there to sort of, right? She could never really see past her prejudices, though, sort of her way of thinking that had kind of been ingrained into her. I came out as a transgender man when I was 11 years old, and I bet some of you have sort of kids or nieces or nephews or whatever that are around that age, and do you know what you'd say to them? Because I sat my mum down and I told her, I don't know who I am, I don't know what words to use, I can't explain it, but I'm not female, I'm not what you think I am. And she didn't know what to say either. She gave me that look that you'll all know because all parents have done it, and it was sort of yeah, you all know it. She sort of sat there for a minute in silence and then just sent me to my room. And that was it, and we didn't speak about it ever again. And I thought, oh no, I screwed that one up, oh no. And so I tried to force myself to become exactly what she wanted me to be. I grew my hair out really long, I wore dresses and wore makeup and, you know, all that stereotypical jazz, but it wasn't me. It was never me. It was always very forced. It was always like I was acting. I tried again when I was 14, and I told her exactly the same thing again. I'm not female. I can pretend all you like, but it's not who I am. And this time, she didn't sit in silence anymore. I'm not going to go into too many details because it is quite morbid, but my own mother put me in hospital. She broke one of my ribs, she dislocated my shoulder. I was black and blue, completely. Because of that, I ended up in foster care with a completely new family, a completely new set of people that I didn't know, and I was terrified because I had nowhere to run anymore. I'd done my running. This was it. This was the end point. I had nowhere else to go. And they really didn't understand me. They were an incredible family. They did everything they could for me, but they didn't quite get it, and that was terrifying. But they bought books about it, and they watched documentaries. They attended like focus groups for parents with trans kids, and that was sort of a turning point for me because these parental figures, these sort of given to me by the state, had made so much of an effort to understand who I actually was and what that meant for me. After that, I went to university, and I thought, this is brilliant. Nobody has a clue who I am. I can be whoever I want to be. I can sort of create whatever sort of image I want to present. And it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. Until 6 weeks into my first year, I was assaulted on campus in my students' union. That was supposed to be my safe place. It was my safe place where no one knew me, and I was assaulted. So the security teams hunted the guy down, and when they asked him why he did it, he told them that it was because I had a tiny little transgender pride flag stitched to my backpack. And that meant I was one of them, and that meant I was disgusting, and therefore he needed to do what he did to me. If it had happened sort of beforehand, if I'd stayed with my mother, if I'd never ended up in foster care, I would have just kind of shrunken into myself and sort of ignored the problem. I'm the problem, we're not going to talk about it anymore. But instead, I rose up. I started working with my students' union and sort of the students that we had around us. And I'm not going to go on about it too much because I will get really big-headed, but we've achieved some absolutely incredible things working with staff and students and other universities and colleges and things to really change attitudes towards people like me, because I'm not different to anyone. I'm an ordinary person with an ordinary job and an ordinary life. As anyone who's been to university will know, student finance is great, but it runs out eventually, and I had to get a job. I didn't want to, but I did, and I ended up working for quite a big cinema chain that I'm not going to name. But I didn't tell anyone that I was transgender, because I didn't feel like I had to. You know, my passport says Corey, my application said Corey, and I didn't have to tell anyone. That's not the driving force. That's not why you should hire me. Hire me because I'm poor, but also hire me for, sort of experience and things. And they did, and I got the job, and people weren't really sure what to call me. I sometimes got she, I sometimes got he. I sometimes had people using my name where they shouldn't really use my name because they didn't really know what else to say. And I thought, you know what? Screw it, I'm going to clear it up, I'm going to get out of the way, I'm going to tell everyone, and that'll be the end of it. So in a staff meeting, I sort of pulled my manager aside and I said, look, I'm going to tell everyone I'm trans, I'm going to get all the awkward questions out of the way, and then that's it, we can forget about it. So I did, and my manager made me stand up and introduce myself as the new employee, and I sort of said, my name's Corey, I use he, him pronouns, I'm transgender, and that's why I felt the need to clarify my pronouns. If anyone has any questions, now's the time. And they did. They asked some really incredible questions, sort of things that you don't really think to ask until you're presented with it. And that was amazing, and I was so proud of my new colleagues and sort of my manager for giving me that space. And 3 days later, I was fired by email. They told me it was because they'd overhired and they didn't need me, but come on, you all know that's not really what it was. Because of that, I've started, it really did knock me. I didn't want to, that was it. No one else would ever know, and I'm never going to mention it again, and I would just suck it up, and that is it, that's fine. But it really dawned on me how important it is to talk about these things, because anyone who gets to know me, or really any other trans person you'll ever meet, we're not different. We're not sort of these creatures that need to be discussed and dissected, and we're just people, man. We're ordinary people, and I'm not here to preach or give you any sort of statistics or anything like that. I just want to make the point that none of you would have known when I walked into the room that I was trans, and none of you would have treated me any differently. So why is it that now that I've spoken out and I've said my thing and I've said, what's in my pants doesn't really match what's up here, but that's fine, why is it that suddenly I'm then different? And I just want people to think about, when you're hiring people or you're talking to people or you're selecting people for events and things, I want you to think whether the tick boxes are really important, and whether it's sort of the way I identify myself or who I choose to date or whatever, whether that's the important bit or whether it doesn't really matter and we're all just people. Thank you.